Hi there, welcome to my channel. This is Sarah with Jujube Crafts and More. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. And if you're not and we're old friends, welcome back. Let's get started with today's DIYs. First, I'm going to start off with one of these glass jars that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to remove the sticker from the bottom. I thought that this jar was just beautiful with the texture on the outside of it, and it's square, and I just loved everything about it. So I decided that I wanted to make this into like a vase. So I'm going to take this white twine. I picked this twine up from Walmart. This ball was $1.47, I believe. And I am loving this twine. I have never used this one from Walmart before, and I think it is just fabulous. So anyhow, I'm going to hot glue a piece to the back of my jar, and then I'm just going to wrap it around a few times until I'm happy with how much is covered. I didn't want to cover all of that beautiful texture up. I wanted a good majority of it to be seen. So I just did, like about an inch there, I guess. A few wraps. Next, I'm going to take these chalkboard clothespin signs, and I'm just going to pop that clothespin off the back. Now, when I popped it off, it did break part of the clothespin, and I did try to get that off, and I couldn't get it off. So I just went with it and actually liked how it gave it dimension, because it stands up away from the jar a little bit, and I just really think that looks really good. So here I'm just using a jelly roly pen, or a jelly roll pen. That's what they're called. I picked these up at Michael's, and I love these pens. They're the best white gel roll pens. I use them in my paper crafting, and it worked perfectly on this little sign as well. So I'm just writing "Hello Spring" in my own handwriting with this jelly roll pen, and I will go over the words a couple times just to make them nice and bright and bold. Next, I'm just going to put a dollop of hot glue right on the back of this little sign, and I'm just going to place it right in the center of my little jar here. And essentially, that is it for this project. It's super easy, super simple, takes only minutes, and I think that the outcome is stunning. I love this jar with these purple lavender picks in it. Now for DIY number 2. We're going to start off with one of these tag signs from Christmas, and I picked up this package of butterflies, and I'm going to show you a few of them. I have never seen these at my Dollar Tree before. They've probably had them, and I've just never seen them, but they are just die cuts of these beautiful butterflies, and I picked up this pack, which is the blues and greens, and then they also had like an orange monarch coloration of butterflies, and I picked that package up too. And I just love these. I think they're beautiful. I love butterflies, so this is right up my alley. I couldn't have picked anything better. So I also picked out that yellow paper from a paper pad that I had in my stash, and I'm just going to trace my sign with a pencil so that I know where to cut. Now, if you don't have paper like scrapbook paper, have no fear. You can get darling bags from the Dollar Tree, and you can do the same thing with Dollar Tree bags. Just cut them up, and I'm just using a glue stick to glue these down. I'm using this Gorilla glue stick. I have no idea if it's going to work any better than any other glue stick, but I saw it and I thought, I'm going to give it a try. So I'm just putting it down with regular glue stick. But I know a lot of crafters just use regular, like the glue stick from the dollar store, and they say it works great. So you don't need any fancy papers or any expensive products to do any of these projects that I'm showing you here today. You can use all Dollar Tree items and get the same exact outcome. So I'm just pushing this paper down, making sure there's no air bubbles, using my hands to really make sure it's adhered nicely because I don't want the edges to flip up. Then I'm taking this pokey tool that I have and I'm just going to poke out the hole for the hanger, the top. So next I'm going to take some of this twine. Again, this is the twine I got, the brown twine and the white twine from Walmart. I was just there the other day and I just saw it and I thought, oh, I need more twine. I picked it up. I'm enjoying this twine a lot. I definitely probably use it again in the future. So I'm just cutting off a little bit, wrapping it around my sign a couple times, and then I'm just going to knot it right in the middle. So thanks again for stopping by. If you like my content and want to see more, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. So moving back to our craft here, I'm taking 2 identical butterflies. Each package, from what I can tell, has 2 identical butterflies in exactly the same size. So I'm taking 2 identical butterflies and I'm just going to glue them back to back so that when I place my butterflies on my project, I'm going to have the wings kind of sticking up. And so this way, if you see it from kind of the underneath side or from the edge or whatever, you'll see the wings from both sides. So you don't have to do this step, but I wanted to do this. So I'm just gluing 2 of these butterflies back to back. Again, just using that glue stick. Next, I'm going to take some of this Distress Oxide in the color Vintage Photo. And one of these, this was like a blending brush, makeup brush that the Dollar Tree had a while back. I don't know if they're still carrying them. I haven't seen them at any of my Dollar Trees for a while, but they work brilliantly for ink. So I had picked up quite a few and I just use them for my inks. I don't use them for my face. But I know you can pick up these same brushes on Amazon still. So if you are interested, you can look on Amazon and you should be able to find them. So I'm just going to go around the edges of the butterflies just to get rid of some of that white that was showing. And then I'm just going to kind of distress the outside edge of my sign here. And I really love this Vintage Photo. It's a really great distress color. It's really nice. So I'm going to take, I had a package of these rub-on transfer words from the Dollar Tree, and there's a whole bunch of different words on them. And I picked out a few words that I thought were kind of words to live by in our household. And just some little reminders for my daughters. If they look at the sign, I just want them to be kind, want them to be graceful, you know, give grace to other people, to love with all their hearts, not to forget to dream, and to live life joyfully. So I thought these were the perfect words to go on this little sign. So I'm just transferring them onto my sign using just my fingernails this time. And just take your time when you're lifting up the edges and make sure that everything is down really well before you completely remove it. If you go slow, you can see if anything has lifted and not adhered properly, and you can go back and rub it down. So I did have a little spot that was blank there that got missed. So I just used a black pencil and filled that in, and you can't even tell. So I'm going to add a couple of beads to the ends of this twine, and then I'm going to knot them off. And these beads I just picked up from Amazon, but the Dollar Tree does carry the colorful beads. You just have to paint them in the color that you want if you wanted them a different color. So I'm just going to add some hot glue to the bottom part of this knot so that my strings hang down flat and not all crazy. And then you can see that I kind of bent my butterfly wings up a little bit, and I'm just going to glue the very center of the butterfly down to my sign here. And I'm going to do that with both butterflies. Next, I'm going to take a length of twine, and I am just going to fold it in half and place it in my sign from the front to the back. And then I'm going to loop it around itself and then knot the top off, and that will create the hanger for my sign. Now, if you want, you can definitely finish off the back of this sign with some craft paper or whatever you might choose. There is glitter on the back of it, so I probably will go back and finish mine off with some craft paper so that there's not glitter all over the place. But here is a look at how this turned out. I really do love this. Like I said, I love butterflies, so this is just my everything. So for DIY number 3, we are going to start off with these cutlery set. I found these in the spring section of my Dollar Tree, and they're actually like little wood forks, knives, and spoons, and they've got a little embellishment on the front of them, but I'm not worried about that because I'm going to turn them around in my project. So I'm taking one of these little crates. This is just a single level crate with the holes on the end. And I'm just going to trace some paper that I have so that I can fit it into the inside of this little box. So of course I had to go back and trim it and just keep working at it until I got it to roughly the right size. I wasn't too concerned about it being 100% the right size because you can always cover up mistakes with like twine or like embellishments. So if it's not 100% perfect, don't stress, just go with it, and then you can always fix it later. So again, going in with this glue stick, I'm just going to put a bunch of glue on the back of it, and I'm just going to adhere it to the inside of this box. So I'm not painting my box because part of the point of my video is to show you that you can make really cute crafts super simply and quickly without a whole ton of supplies. And so I'm not painting my pieces, but you could definitely go in and paint your box or the little wooden utensils any color you wanted. So I did have to trim off the top of this knife a little bit to make it fit, but I just kind of followed the curve that was naturally there in the first place, and it worked out fine. I just used a pair of scissors and then it cut perfectly, so it's not a problem. So I'm just placing them in there to see where I want them kind of to be, but then I thought, ooh, I want to add something else. So I'm taking some twine, and I'm just going to wrap it around the handles a few times, just from one end to the other, just to give it a little texture and a little something else. And I'm just using a little hot glue to secure those down. And again, with the paper, if you don't have this, like any scrapbook paper, you can use whatever scrapbook paper you like. But if you don't happen to have scrapbook paper, just make sure you grab some of the cute paper bags that Dollar Tree carries. They've got they always have the cutest bags there. I don't know, man, it's so good. They're cute. So you could definitely grab those and it would work perfect. So I was just giving you a thumbs up because the length of twine that I originally cut worked perfectly. Like, I didn't have to cut anything else. It wrapped around the handles, and then once around the inside of the box, I just went around the inside of the box with that twine, again, to cover up those edges that were a little off. and it was perfect. I don't know, got lucky there. So I'm just using some hot glue, and I'm just going to glue in my utensils. Just using a little dab of hot glue. And I did the fork and the spoon first because those were going to be my outside utensils, and then I could put my the knife in the middle and make it more even, if that makes sense. So you can do it however you want when you're putting yours together, but that's just how I like to do it. And then I know that they're center or like spaced perfectly apart, or perfectly apart as it can be for me, because I'm not a perfectionist. So if it's not perfect, I don't really worry about it too much. So next I'm going to take one of these little wooden domino pieces. These are pretty cool little, they're little thin pieces of wood, and they're good for all kinds of stuff. But I cut out, again, some rub-on transfers, and I decided to put the word eat on there. So I'm just transferring that to the back side of this domino piece. And then I was trying to decide if I wanted it on the side or at the bottom, and ultimately I went for the bottom. And I just used a little hot glue to glue that right on. So I know I keep showing you the project upside down. I can never remember which way my camera is going. So here's a look at how this turned out. I think this will be perfect for my kitchen. I'm kind of going for a country cottage feel, and I love it. So for our fourth DIY today, we are going to take one of these little fence signs and one of these crates, all purchased from the Crafter Square section at Dollar Tree. And of course, I got to take the stickers off because we don't want those showing. And then I'm just going to remove this twine hanger. I tried to pull it off with my hands. It wasn't going to budge because it's, I think, stapled on there like 3 or 4 times. So funny with Dollar Tree. Like sometimes things are really, really well put together, and other times they're really not put together well. So you just never know. So with my crate, I am just going to run a little bead of hot glue down the center, and this will be my back side of my crate. And I'm just going to take this burlap and lace ribbon that I also purchased from the Dollar Tree. Most everything that I got for these projects today were from the Dollar Tree. And so I'm just going to hot glue that right around the little crate, and then I'm going to hot glue my little fence to the back of the crate. And I'm taking this sign that says Welcome Spring on it. I picked this up from the Dollar Tree the other day, and I'm just taking that spring sign off, and I'm going to hot glue it to my little fence here. Now be careful, of course, when you're using hot glue and metal. And especially this, it's very, very thin. Just be careful so that you don't burn yourself, because that hot glue does get really, really warm on the metal. So, word of the wise, be careful. And we're looking pretty good so far, but I thought it needed a little something else. So I'm taking some of this pink sheer ribbon that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I wrapped it, like looped it around itself a couple times, and then I'm just gonna hot glue pinch it together and hot glue in the center. This bow was giving me a ton of trouble, so I didn't show you very well how to make it, but I just pinched the center and hot glued it. And then I'm taking another length of the ribbon, and I'm just going to tie it around the very middle of this bow. And then I'll just kind of work it until it gets to the shape that I want. It turns out really cute, but it was kind of giving me trouble. So I may not suggest doing your bow the same way. I don't know. A shoestring bow would be just fine. Now I'm gonna dovetail the ends, and am I the only one that can never remember which way to go when you dovetail? I always do it wrong. Always do it wrong the very first time. 100%. I can never remember to do it right way. So no matter how hard I try, like I always get it wrong. So I always cut longer than I need to because I always know it's going to be wrong. So I'm just going to hot glue this to the top corner of my little fence here. And that will essentially finish up this project. It's just another super cute, simple, and very fast project that you can do in just minutes. And here I styled it with some Dollar Tree flowers and some greenery from Walmart. I think it turned out really cute. So for our last DIY today, we are going to start out with this little home sign. And I picked out a couple papers that I liked. Again, just kind of going with my country cottage feel that I want for my kitchen area. So I am just going to take this twine part off of the top of this little house piece, and then there was a little bit of glue there, so I'm just going to use my scraper tool here and get all the glue off because I don't want any like bumps underneath my paper. So I'm going to make sure that that glue is off of there. Now I didn't bother to sand it because it was pretty flat. So if it's not flat for you though, you might want to just run a piece of sandpaper over the top of it just to really get it nice and smooth. Next, I'm just going to trace the little house onto my paper. And then I knew I needed to cut out the center square, so I just rubbed my fingers around the perimeter of the square so I kind of had an idea as to where I needed to cut. Again, I don't need it to be precise because if it's not 100% perfect, I'm going to go back through and I'm going to cover it up. So even if that wasn't like originally my plan, because it wasn't, but taking glue stick and I'm just going to adhere that paper down. So next I'm taking this gray polka dot paper and I'm just going to cut a square to cover the gray square on the front of this and to cover that home. So I'm just using my fingers and really pressing it down really well. And then I'm going to take this white twine and I am going to wrap it around this little square. So again, this is just an easy way to fix, little blunders or mistakes or, where it's not quite right. And you never know. You never can see it and it looks like it was meant to be. So I wrap it around. I go around the perimeter once and then go back over the top of the twine again, close to that square, all the way around again. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just like stacking the twine on top of itself around the square. So I hope you guys are all having a wonderful week. We are getting snow at my house. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and so we don't see a whole ton of snow where I live. And so it's kind of exciting. I live in the Columbia River Gorge, and so we're expected actually to get blizzard conditions, which is pretty unusual for us. So hopefully it's not too bad. So next I'm going to take some of this twine, I'm going to wrap it around a couple times, kind of creating the same look that was there before with the original piece. And then I'm just making a shoestring bow or a shoelace tied bow, whatever, how you tie your shoelace. I'm going to add some beads to one side of the twine. And I'm going to knot it off and then I'll trim out that piece. And I did make this asymmetrical. So if you're not an asymmetrical type person, you'll want to just make it symmetrical. So next, coming from that rub-on transfer sheet that had all the words on it, I found the word home because I like that, you know, word. I love my home. So I wanted to put that back onto this little sign. These rub-on transfers are just really super easy to create quick projects with. They're so fabulous. So this was a new rub-on transfer sheet that I found. And it's just kind of like some romantic, like, I think it's, you know, geared towards like Valentine's, or kind of reminds me of like vintage, shabby chic kind of vibe to it. So I'm just taking a couple of these roses that were on the sheet, and I'm just going to put one in each corner. I thought it was a nice little pop of color against the blue and gray. And that, my friends, completes this project. I love this one too. I think I love them all. They're all great today. I don't know that I could pick one. So here's a final look at that. And here's a look at all of them together. Now that's kind of not the greatest picture, but you get an idea of what everything was together. So anyhow, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate that you took time out of your day to spend with me. I feel very privileged, and I couldn't ask for better friends in my community. I hope you have a happy, blessed day. Talk to you later. Bye.